Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
As well as Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire, the best pizza in Wisconsin. We got a pizza buffet as well as frozen pizzas, which we love. In this episode, we're going to be talking about life after football and the transition from football to civilian life.
Yeah, I think it's important. We can sit here and talk football about the games and what's coming up, and I really enjoy that part. But I think this is more than just two fat guys talking about football in our experiences. I think this one is probably a little bit more heartfelt, and I think it's a little bit more of a serious topic. And having that transition, and it's like I said, I know I struggled, and it's one of those things where we can talk about the struggle and maybe help somebody out who's in the middle of their issues right now. So
absolutely. And that was the first thing I was going to say is, we just said about the transition from football to the civilian life, the real world. I should have said the lack of official transition from football into the real world, because once you get past high school, which even high school, I think your coaches and your teachers are preparing you that 90, whatever it is, 8 or 9% of kids don't play sports beyond high school. But it's still tough realizing that's the last day you're ever going to put pads on. But at the college and NFL level, it's literally when it's done, and you don't know it's done until it ended yesterday. And nobody says, this is what you need to do tomorrow.
Right.
And this is what you should do for the next month. And this is what you should do for the next year. And this is how you should play. It's just, hey, thanks for your service.
Yep.
There's the door. Make sure your locker's cleaned out. Here's a garbage bag. Good luck to you.
Make sure you're handing all your stuff because we want that back. And then thanks for the lifetime that you've committed thus far, throughout your life to this point, and now go figure it out. And I've unfortunately had the opportunity to do that twice in my life. With the first one with being, with football. We talked about this earlier. My career was cut short in Madison with significant knee injury, and I had every intention of going to the NFL and doing all the things and continue on to play. And I still had 2 years left to play. So that abruptness kind of shook me a little bit, because all of a sudden I went from a very regimented schedule to every minute of my day was filled with where I needed to be, what I needed to do, preparing for this, preparing for that, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden I became like a regular student. And all of a sudden I just had a tremendous amount of time on my hands and didn't know how to really cope with that. And I know it sounds like how childish. Now you have more time. Well, the problem is I never had this time before. And now I'm going to start feeling this with not positive things, okay? Because my obligation to football was gone, which was a huge, significant part of college for us. And then I just became a regular student. And I was better when I was busy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that, we joke about it, about the itinerary. Even at Wisconsin, we had a pocket itinerary, which was 3 days of a schedule broken down to from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. There's no time that's not accounted for. Like if you're using the bathroom, you're using it during a time slot on that schedule that has something else going on.
Correct. You're
excusing yourself, you're using the restroom, and then you're coming back to that scheduled period. So I do think itinerary and schedule and having accountability for something is a big deal that we lose. And, whether it was you in college or me in the NFL, it's literally you wake up the next morning and like we said, you don't know it's over till it's over. You don't know like, hey, in the next 2 years, I think I'm going to call it quits. And this is what I think I'm going to do after that. No, it's, I guess it ended yesterday. And you wake up the next day and you're like, what do I do?
Right.
Like you were still in school. So you had school, and me, I'm like, well, what do I go get a job? Because I joke with people, you never saw my contract on ESPN. So yeah, I had to go to work when I got done playing football. But it's like, do I start applying for jobs the next day? Like, what do I wake up? Do I even work out? Because football is not a part of my life anymore. And there's just so much unknown when that happens because of a lack of a transition. That's something I think, I don't even know, excuse me, if they're working on it, but at the college and NFL level, I do think they need to improve in that area. There are so many things they're trying to do to prepare kids in college and guys in the NFL to have more success in life. But just that little transition period, like, hey, this is what you should look at for the next 3 months. This is what you need to prepare for. Like, yes, you're done doing this, but here's the way you should lead your life. You should keep your own schedule now. You should schedule things out, schedule busy time, also schedule downtime. Me and you both know, especially nowadays with pain, it's easy. It's smart to say, hey, my back's hurting. I need to take 2 hours. I'm going to watch a movie, or I'm going to ice. I'm going to do this and that. But at the same time, too, if there's no schedule, that 2 hours could turn into 2 weeks that you're sitting on a couch, sitting on a chair. Then all of a sudden, like we both experienced, like you could get in your head, you could start thinking, going down different rabbit holes. But that's a lot of the negatives with that transition from football to the real world.
Right.
But there's also a lot of positives that we brag about, and why, my son and your son both played football, or my son's still playing football at the high school level. And because we understand all those positives that come out that have allowed us to be successful after sports was done. And that's something I think we're going to touch on in this episode.
And even to this day, Bill, with running Cabin Coffee and operating it, and understand I was not a business owner prior to this, so completely different world. I used to work with all alpha males, whether it was in football or whether I was in law enforcement. I was a SWAT operator, a sniper. So like all of my jobs that I've had were always like with alpha males or alpha females, like doing the job. So I had some pretty jagged edges in my personality, which again, because that's the way we communicated. Yep. We talked very differently on this podcast than we did when we were in the locker room in college or when we're not on the microphone. Correct. I mean, let's face it. Yep. So, and that transition from the realm of working with in a high stress job, whether in law enforcement or, in football, obviously pressure too. And then being able to do a complete 180 of my personality, because let's face it, the team that I operate right now are high school and college age girls that I can't talk to them the way that I would talk to anybody else. I mean, so it took a lot for me to be able to round off my edges and do a complete 180 for a personality. And not that I put on an act, because this is who I am. However, the way I address people, the way I say things, the look on my face, the tone of my voice, the context that I use completely had to change, like 1,000%. If I talked to my employees the way that we talk to each other, I would have no employees, and there would be a lot of breaks that people were crying, and I would not be a very successful business owner at all.
Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. I got a buddy in Florida that wants Cabin Coffee, wants to give it a try. He hears us talking about it. How does he go about ordering it?
Not hard, Bill. Just have him Google Cabin Coffee Altoona. We have a website. Down below, we have a bean menu. He can go through, see the description of the beans, and then he can just email me at altoona@cabincoffee.net. And then send me his order and some contact information. I'll give him a call, and I'll figure out the rest and get it in the mail.
That sounds easy.
Very easy. So
absolutely. And I laugh when you say the look on your face. Like I know who you are, and I've known you for whatever it is now, like almost 30 years. But we had a distance where we were apart for a while, almost like a relationship here. We were apart for a while, and you were coming over the house, and I sort of prepped my kids about like how nice a guy you are, how nice a person you are. But I go, he's going to look very scary when he walks in the door. Right. Your beard was a lot bigger back then, and just like your normal face. Yeah, I mean, no offense, but it comes off as intimidating to people. And I prep my kids. My kids love you now, and they know you, and they've been around you. But that's the thing. Until somebody gets to know you, you're looked at different. And that is a big deal. But one of the things I think we talk about is, even before we talk about this, I know we brought this up in an older episode, was talking about what we learned in football and how it carries over in the real world. One thing I will never forget that I've always thought of, like you've done police, you've done a business owner with Cabin Coffee, I've done sales. We both have had families. And the one thing I remember was our teammate, Chris Pickett. Chris Pickett quit playing football because he didn't have a passion for it. And good for him for making that decision. And he decided to go to law school, and he killed it. And he's down in Chicago, the Chicago area, killing it as a lawyer. And I remember asking him, I was so in awe that he was a lawyer, because I was just like from the time I was a little kid all the way through college, I'm like, boy, that's got to be hard. You got to be smart. You got all this work, this, that. And the one night me and Chris had a conversation, I'm just like, how are you doing this? Like I was dumbfounded.
Right.
And this is a guy that respected what we did on the football field, that he ended up moving on, but still, we still roomed with him and looked back at us saying, I respect what you guys do. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, Bill, after doing 2 days and after going through 3 days and all the stuff we did in camp, he goes, everything else in life is easy. And he just made that comment. I was like, then we start thinking, like, we think about the last 20 some episodes we've talked about. We talk about how hard it is, all the pain we went through, the suffering, the agonizing days and sleepless nights and waking up early. And you think, he's like, all I have to do is go to class. I got to open a book. I got to study. He goes, I don't have to get hit. I'm not sore when I wake up. I don't have headaches when I go to bed. And it just sort of opened my eyes like, you know what? We have done maybe not the most challenging thing in the world, but some of the most challenging things that most individuals could ever dream of. We did and we accomplished. So then I looked at it as anything else in front of me, any other challenge or adversity is nothing compared to what we succeeded at the college level. But we both had a couple of things that we wrote down, and like one of them, and this is a lot of stuff that I think we've both learned as way back when we started playing football all the way through the end of our careers. And the first one's goals. I know one thing that I always try and stress to athletes and normal people, but I talk more to athletes because the opportunity I'm given, is a message my dad gave me when I was in high school with goals. He said, goals is like a ladder. And he literally took me in the garage and put a ladder up against the side of the wall. And he goes, your goals are like every rung on the ladder. The first rung on that ladder, that goal, you need to get good grades. Because if you don't get good grades, every other goal will never be accomplished. And he went through like half the rungs on the ladder. He's like, if that top rung on the ladder, he goes, I don't care if it's a doctor or a lawyer or a professional athlete. You got to achieve every other goal, which is every other rung on that ladder to get to the top.
Right.
And I think we learned it there, but then throughout high school, college, with Coach Alvarez, setting goals, our position coach, our strength coach, setting goals. Goals was all we did throughout sports, whether it was a team goal, an individual goal, an offensive goal. We understood goals and how to achieve them. Right. And I think that's a big thing where people today, there's adults that they might have a goal, but they don't know how to work for it. They don't know how to achieve it. They just talk about it. And that's something, we didn't just talk about it. We talked about it. We worked towards it. We worked hard for it. And we achieved the majority of the goals we set.
And then we also don't talk about, what if that ladder that you're reaching for the goal for, what if that ladder rung breaks?
Correct.
And there you are hanging. So back to the transitional part of football. And I'm not even sure if you know this, but this is, so again, when I went into college, I was going to be like every other football player. I'm going to be a gym teacher, and then I'm going to coach football.
Coach high school.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Every football player who ever thought that's kind of what the plan is, because I have this knowledge, I have this skill set, and I can, and this is what I want to do because I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
So mine was a bit different because I wasn't going to be in law enforcement when I first started out. I mean, again, I was going to be the teacher, and career was cut short. We were still roommates, and someone asked me, "How did you transition into law enforcement, or what was that journey that you took?" And I'm going, it's not the normal one. Usually, it's like, oh, I want to be a police officer because I want to help people and I want to do this and I want to make a difference. And not that I'm a shitty person, but mine was much more selfish than that. And let me explain to you. So I floundered. I lost my purpose. I still had a purpose, and that was to graduate school. But my purpose that I lost was I identified as a football player. Yep. That's the only freaking thing I knew. I've been playing football since I was in the 8th grade. I walked around carrying a football my entire life saying, I'm going to play football. I want to play football. That's the only dream that I had. And then if I got a degree, that's like the icing on the cake.
Yep.
Like, at least I have something to fall back on. That was my idea, but I'm going that way. Like, that's this thing. And then when that abruptly stopped and I had all this time in my hands and I'm going, holy crap. Okay, well, I'm still going to finish school. I'm still going to do this. And then the ladder rung broke. So Madison's a difficult school education-wise. I think everybody knows that. And I found out that when I was supposed to go into the School of Education, they were turning down students with 3.8 GPAs.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, Bill, my 2.675 wasn't going to freaking cut it. Okay.
I hear you.
And I was not about to go to college and somewhere else to get the student teaching aspect of it. That was not on my agenda. I didn't have the funds to do that. And I had this at a time where this is my degree and this is what I'm getting. And so I was kind of floundering there because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have there was no plan B.
Yep.
It was football. And then the teacher thing. Well, the teacher thing fell through. And I'm sitting there and not really knowing what to do. And I remember this scenario like it was yesterday. We were out the bars drinking. It was me, you, Dave, and I might have been Danny Eatley because he was hanging around us
Always.
And we got home. We were drinking, and I think we turned the TV on, and everyone passed out around. And I was still awake because I was still in my head. And I'm going through the channels, and I think you're sleeping on the couch, and we're just kind of wrapping up the night or whatever. And now going through, everyone's passed out, and I'm kind of watching TV, and the television show Cops came on, and I'm sitting there watching this television show, and I'm going, "Huh, damn, this fills an awful lot of voids in my life right now, like the camaraderie." The us against the world, the adrenaline, because let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 47 and I'm disabled, but I'm still trying to chase, to catch that feeling every now and again to make sure I'm still alive. And
the physicalness.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so I'm sitting there watching this and I don't remember like the scenario that was playing. I don't remember what city they were filming in, but I'm going, man, like this is totally like football. This is totally something that is missing, that I'm missing in my life. And I think the end of the night wrapped up, and I'm like, okay. And I made a note of it. And that Monday, I went in to talk to my academic advisor, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to change my major. And they're like, you're what? I said, yeah, I don't want to be a teacher. They're turning down students. There's no freaking way.
Mind-blowing, but good for the university that they had that many smart kids, but mind-blowing that it was that difficult to get in.
Yeah. So they didn't have criminal justice in Madison because I was told people don't go here to be a cop. They go to the tech down the street. And I said, well, I'm here, so we're going to figure this out. And I said, well, give me something that would be relatable to that field. Something. I need a 4-year degree. I'm here. I got my generals done. Let's go figure it out. And we came up with sociology, and I had no idea what sociology is. And honestly, to this day, I have a degree, and I have no freaking idea. I have no idea what the hell sociology is. It's a study of why things happen in people, places, and things, like why there's patterns. Yeah. That's the only thing I remember. So I went and changed my major to sociology, and at that point in time, because now I lost my purpose, I lost my mission, and that directed my new mission. And I needed to have a goal. I needed to have a freaking mission so I could go accomplish something because I was lacking that in my life. 1,000%. Yeah. Like it just didn't. So like you flounder all the time. And it's just like, it's so hard to be able to like transition that way. And I was fortunate. And like, generally you don't say, yeah, I was drinking one night and I found my path. Yeah, no, that's usually not how it works out, so.
No, I 100% agree with you. But, back to this list that we talked about things we carried over, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on all of them, but like determination, work ethic, working as a team, like even for me with sales, like I loved finding a person that nobody else could reach, that nobody else could convert. I just think we had that attitude from football that, like the Michael Jordan saying, we hate losing more than we love winning.
Right.
And I think that's our mentality no matter what it is, whether it's family, we want family to go right, whether it's work, whether it's career, kids, anything like that. And, and looking at those items, like our kids, we have hardworking kids. I mean, my kids are still in high school right now, but getting good grades, having success with sports, preparing well for the future. And, you at the coffee shop, like working as a team, like you had already talked about the different culture of employees you have, and it's how do you work with them? You can't be the dictator coach that we got, that we succeeded from out of fear because you'll run everybody off. So you have to be able to move and adjust and pivot to the way that they want to hear it and need to hear it to have that success. And you could tell you have because of how successful your coffee shop is as of today.
I agree. You know, and I rely on the lessons that I learned in football and in law enforcement in my day-to-day all the time. You know, like I still don't ever want to get like I don't know how to freaking surrender. I don't know how to give up. You better put me on my misery because you're just going to piss me off and I'm going to work harder. Like I still have that kind of mentality.
Absolutely. You know, and I try to explain that to kids because like you brought it up. Now that you brought it up, I'm okay saying it, but like that we're both disabled here. We both have horrible backs and horrible bodies. You know, like I used to work out your old high school, the high school my son's at right now. Quite a few years back, I was helping work out the O-line and D-line, and I just didn't see passion. I didn't see desire. I didn't see work ethic. I didn't see any of that. And I was trying to figure out a way to explain it to them. And I said, at the time, I hadn't had my hip replaced at the time, but it was already bothering me. I could barely, I'm right-handed, but I played left guard so much, I became left-handed in sports. I couldn't get in a left-handed stance. So I had to get in a right-handed stance to show them the stance. And I saw some like smirks from the kids and this and that, and it just pissed me off because I saw the work ethic. And I go, you know the difference between me and you? I go, you guys can't, and this is not the current team. So anybody on the current team or parents on the current team, this is many years ago. I looked at them. I go, the difference between me and you, we're in an indoor sports facility. I said, if you challenge me to climb to that roof, I'm going to climb that roof. I go, I might die. I might get paralyzed or whatever, but I'm gonna hit that roof or I'm gonna die. Those are my only two options. Right. I go, you guys, if I said climb their roof, I go, 90% of you will probably walk out the door. 10% of you will probably him and haw about it. I go, we don't think twice. We're just like, all right, we'll do it. You know, you want to challenge me? You want to put that adversity in front of me? We're going to take it head on. We're not going to avoid it. We're not going to try and go around it. We're going to take it head on. And, you know, a lot of that attitude comes from football. And, you know, the next word on the list is passionate. You know, like we care about whatever it is. Like I'm sure, like you had said, you weren't that little kid being like, I hope when I grow up I own a coffee shop. But today you're like, I want my coffee shop to be the best coffee shop around, and it is. Right. Because of that passion you put in, because of the leadership you provide. And it like I always go back to, like you said, like, and I think you didn't say it, but you said when we were younger, football defined you, where I think we both agree that football is a part of our life, but football is not who we are. Right. You know, like we have the helmets on the table. We talk a lot about football because that's what we did. That's what people like to hear. They like the behind the scenes story. But that, like, we barely even talk about football today. We definitely don't bring it up to strangers. Now, when it's brought up to us, we'll tell the stories. We'll do the act. We'll tell them the stuff that they haven't heard before to allow them to have a good time. But it's not who we are. But all these little positive things that we've taken away from football have made us who we are today. That's more who we are today, more than football. It's the determination, it's the goals, it's the work ethic, the passion, discipline. You know, like look at, you know, we maybe not you, but I complain a lot about the generation of kids out there right now, and there's zero discipline. Right. I mean, just zero kids not doing homework, kids not showing up for school, kids not showing up for football. Yeah. Like me and you have never, like I said, I was telling somebody the other day, I was talking to a high school buddy and mentioned about, I said a couple of years ago, I went to a local high school. They had a new coach. They asked me to speak. And I said, yeah, you know, I'll give you a quick speech, but I go like, name 3 things you want me to address, you know, so I bring your stuff into my talk. And he goes, well, number 1, can you stress that they have to be at practice every day? And I almost fell down. I was like, you're joking with me. And he goes, no, I'm serious. Like, they don't all come to practice every day. And I was telling it was a high school buddy of mine. It was Sean, I was telling. I said, throughout my career in college, I think I lost my uncle and I think I lost my uncle and 2 grandmothers in college. And I stayed there and because it was during football season. And then I lost my grandfather in the NFL and didn't like, these are funerals of the family members that raised me. And no offense to them, because I know they understood my passion for the game and they wouldn't have wanted me to leave. But I was just like, no, where these kids today, they're like, no, I want to play a video game instead of. So it's frustrating not seeing that discipline, that passion that was embedded in us through sports. And we expect it out of others that we work with. So it is challenging when we don't see the same that we're giving out.
I also think that what's lacking is we had the ability to cope because we had
Correct.
to cope.
Correct.
And coping skills have fallen by the wayside.
Well, to your point, and we've addressed this before with coping, like how many times were we on our own at 7 years old to 12 years old and beyond for 12 hours during a summer day or during a weekend, or like you survived. What are you going to do for lunch? I don't know. I got to figure it out.
Right.
Like I'm either going to somebody's house whose mom's going to give me lunch, or I got to find money on the street, or I got to convince somebody to buy me lunch, or,
right.
Like we joke about drinking out of hoses.
Oh,
like I joke about back in Scranton, hopping in people's pools that you don't know just to cool off. And we call it pool hopping. You hop the fence, hop in the pool, hop out of the pool, hop the fence and get out. That's how you cool down in the middle of the day. But
that doesn't surprise me with that whole...
Oh, come on now. Come on. We did what we had to do to survive.
Seeing you guys drive is ridiculous. It's just crazy, and then going back to, so, after my career was cut short, even in law enforcement, like that was another transition that I had that I struggled with because, again, I went from identifying as a football player and then I went to my life as in law enforcement.
You found your passion again. After that rung the ladder broke, you found the passion in law enforcement.
Correct.
And then boom.
And then, and that the damaged spinal cord is probably, was much worse than the knee, because it affects everything that I do now. But just, again, I stress the losing the purpose in again, trying to find your next mission. And I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my end of the obligation to my family. Granted, yes, I was taking care of my family financially because, I got hurt at work and, had to go through that whole fiasco. But it was still one of those things where I couldn't put down all the things that I learned in football. And I felt like less of a person, like less of a man, because here I am. I'm going, what the hell do I do with myself? Like, how the hell am I supposed to – what do I do? My kids are in school. I couldn't be a stay-at-home dad because my kids were in school, and I couldn't even stand my freaking self. Like, I was so uncomfortable in my own skin, and I was so freaking miserable. Like, I couldn't stand myself. I have no idea how my freaking wife didn't leave me because I was an asshole. Yeah. Like, I lost my purpose, and then I couldn't clean the house anymore. I couldn't dust. The house was spotless. The laundry was freaking done. The food was on the table. Like, that's all I could freaking do. But that wasn't enough for me, which is unfortunate because that was my personal issue. So, trying to find your next mission. And I did some small things, after law enforcement. And, so I became a medical examiner. Okay. And or coroner, it's called a medical examiner. And, then I think my wife kind of saw something like, hey, like, okay, listen here, guy. Like, you just got out of law enforcement. Okay, that's a tough job. And mentally, like, you're seeing all the things and doing all the things. And maybe it's time for you to find, like, a better job for a better outlook on life. And then I go become a medical examiner, which is dead people. So probably not the most positive thing for me, and didn't realize, like, my mental health was. But that job, the medical examiner, pulled me out of the funk from law enforcement. Yeah. So just trying to find the mission, then ultimately, it was my wife's thought, like, hey, we're going to open a coffee shop and you're going to run it. And I resisted for all of it because I did not freaking want to do that because, again, so uncomfortable and so out of my wheelhouse and so out of my norm. I did not take customer service job for a reason because, again, this is not the face of somebody in customer service. Yeah. And I know how I'm wired. I'm like, I don't have the patience for this. And ultimately, she was 1,000% right because that changed my outlook on people, my outlook on life, my outlook on myself because, first of all, a new skill set I have to learn. So there's my first challenge. Number two, complete revamp of my personality. And then just to learn the business itself and how to do it. I was like, so occupy your mind.
And then you got lucky the first year you opened, you got to deal with the adversity of the virus coming through.
Well, actually, that was year two. So so year one, we were going to open up here in May. And it got pushed back. So we didn't get, we weren't available until, we didn't open up our doors until August. And so we didn't get a chance to do a buffer or make a tremendous amount of money. And we were in a new area where not everybody knew where River Prairie was in Altoona, and it was kind of just growing up. We were there on ground level, so we had that to deal with because no one even knew where the hell we were. And we tell them, like, oh, we're in the River Prairie development. They're like, where the hell's that? I'm like, it's, Kim Drexler's like, that was just a field. I'm like, well, there's some stuff going on back there now. You should probably go check it out. Like, that's where a building is, and then we were hit with like the worst winter in the history of Wisconsin that year. And it was like ass deep snow or 50 below. And we about sunk because of freaking snow removal. It just about sank us. And just took it on the chin. And I was there every minute of the day. So I hired a manager to help me out run the coffee shop. Unfortunately, 2 weeks in, I had to let her go. And I had to convince a whole bunch of high school and college age girls not to quit and to follow me. Okay. And they were mortified of me. And I don't blame them because I know how I look. Like I understand the serial killer vibe that I give off all the time. But
well, it's like just for the audience that's watching on TV, you have Joe, then you have a handsome, good looking guy like me. So it's like Scary Joe versus I wasn't the manager. Joe was the manager. So
right.
It was intimidating.
Very intimidating. And so much to the point where they wouldn't talk to me. And I'm like, okay, how the hell am I going to get through this? How am I going to be able to get these young ladies to trust me enough in order for me to be the because ultimately you have to come to me when you have problems. Otherwise, I'm showing my employees that I don't give a shit about them. Correct. And they're going to leave.
Yep.
Right. So I thought to myself, like, okay, well, I'm kind of in this transitional point. What can I possibly do here? So we opened up at 5 a.m. I got there at 4:30. And then we closed at 6 p.m. By the time we get everything shut down, it's probably about 7 p.m. And I was there until 9. So I worked that every day. So I became the most consistent thing in the coffee shop.
Yep.
I became like an appliance. So you had to like come to me with problems because I'm the guy and I was the only person there. And just through that, working through that and building the relationship and building the confidence of my employees and being able to say, like, this is what I need to do. And and then the last thing I didn't do is I didn't care how small the request was. I didn't care how minuscule the complaint was. I never just blew it off. So I didn't care. Like I made it my priority because I thought the minute that I do not show these people that I don't care about them, the minute that I disregard their needs, I've lost them because in their eyes, I don't give two shits about them. I don't care about anything about. All I care about is the business, and I needed to lead the people. So I'm talking about I purchased onion chopping goggles. Because one of my girls, because again, we make food to order, so we chop our own vegetables. I mean, it's fresh. So, and she comes into the office one day, and her name was Jess, and eyes watering, and I'm like, Jess, are you okay? And she's like, oh my gosh, the onions are so strong today. I said, okay. And she's like, do they make like onion chopping glasses or something? I said, I really don't know. I have no clue, but let me see what I can do. So she went out about her day. She walked out of my office. I'm like, Amazon. I'm like, oh, no shit. Onion goggles for ordered 6 freaking pairs. And she forgot about it. So Amazon comes 3-4 days later or whatever. And I'm like, hey, Jess, wants to come in here? She's like, what? She's like, what are those? I said, you wanted onion chopping goggles and I bought 6 pair. And she's like, you seriously bought those? I said, yeah, because you asked me for them. So why wouldn't I buy these for you? And that was my light bulb moment where I'm like, okay, I can lead people because I can just do everything that I wanted somebody to do for me.
Yeah.
And or just to listen and be there. And that's how that whole thing started. And like I said, now it's been 6 years and it's going really, really well. And I still have employees that I've opened with since the first day that we opened, including training before we even opened our doors.
And that's impressive. And not to take you off of your story, but what I hear, we're doing an episode, Life After Football, transition from football to civilian life. Everything I hear there is what we learned as a young athlete.
Right.
Show up early, stay late, watch extra film. Yep. You're on the practice field, we're a lineman. They need somebody on kickoff. You're running out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like my attitude was like, you throw me off if you want to throw me off. But
Right.
you said you needed a guy. I'll be the guy.
Right.
I'll go run. I'll be the last guy down there. I'll be the 11th guy down to touch the ball carrier, but I'll do it.
Right.
I'll do whatever you want. Like you need a quarterback on the look team. Ferrario, get out of there. Okay. All right. But I just want to show you, like you said, you needed somebody. But that's what I hear when you tell the story. Like every step that you made to be successful, to be a better leader is what we essentially took away from football. Because all that stuff that you did, we did in football to have success.
So even though I left football, I still, to this day, incorporate so many lessons that we learned.
We left football, but football didn't leave us. What we learned in football is still inside of us, and that's what allows us to have success. But I don't have as long of a story, but to your point, my transition was very similar. Like you said, you had I'm going to play in college, I'm going to play in the NFL. My deal, like I made it to the NFL. I was a 4th-round draft pick, and honestly, I passed up doing internships. I passed up meeting with companies because if you asked me my rookie year, and it wasn't cockiness, it was confidence. It was I'm going to probably in my head I was like I'm going to retire after 10 years. 10 years in the league is long enough. I'm going to be in Green Bay the whole time. Because once I earn a starting job, I'm just going to stay there. I'll take less money to stay in Green Bay. We were raised during the era where people didn't bounce from team to team. Free agency wasn't even a thing when we were little. And I just said, no, this is a team. I like this team. I'm going to stay here. And I was going to retire after 10 years. I was going to go in the Packer Hall of Fame. And I was going to be borderline NFL Hall of Fame. I wasn't sure if I'd make that or not. But that was the confidence in my head that all of a sudden So here's the other thing, too. Larry Bechtel, my O-line coach in Green Bay, who I loved, he recently passed away within this last year. He used to tell us, he had all these crazy sayings, but one of them was whenever we were like down in the dumps or pissed or whatever, he's like, fellas, you got the best damn job in the Western Hemisphere. And I thought that was pretty cool because it is the truth. You're a professional athlete. That's the best job in the world damn near. But then the negative side of it was, so I went Green Bay, went to the Redskins, and yes, they are and were and are the Redskins. They're not whatever team they call it now. And then I went to the Panthers, and I essentially got fired from all 3 teams. And I go, damn, I just lost a job at three of the best jobs in the Western Hemisphere. I lost. Now, granted, I fought back, got it again. Then I lost it, fought back, got it again. Then I lost it again. And then after that 3rd one, I realized it was done. It was an injury. I knew based on salary going up for years, every year, credited seasons, it goes up. They took younger guys and let me go. I didn't have the experience, so I knew it was done. But yeah, it's similar to you. It was my wife at the time that pushed me into sales. And she's like, you make relationships with everybody really easy. You talk, you know how to talk. And my fear was similar to you with the coffee shop. I'm like, I don't know anything about, like the job I held the longest was medical sales. I'm like, I don't even like my own blood, let alone other people's blood. I'm like, you want me to go in an operating room and tell a doctor, like going back to like doctors and lawyers, like they're so much smarter than us. And yeah, it was basically, figuring it out and just being like, I can be the best at it and using everything we've talked about so far, like just to hit a couple other things and we can get back to talking. We ended with passion and discipline, communication. We always talk all the time about an offensive line. You have 5 guys that have to play, that have to move as one. It's like a ballet where everybody has to take the same step at the same time in the same direction at the same spot at the same time to be able to work. You got to be able to communicate who we're blocking, who's the extra linebacker, who's the guy coming free. We need to know all that. Resilience, being able to bounce back, deal with adversity. What happens when you get injured? I tell you, obviously, everybody as a little kid, you either fell, scraped your knee, and cried. I've cried when baseball games were canceled when I was little. But honestly, and it's funny and sad to say, the first time I cried as an adult, where I say like over the age of 16, was the game that Dave Costa broke his ankle. Right. One of our really good friends, best friends, Dave. He was right guard, and we lost to Northwestern. And I think it was double overtime. So that was hard to take. I think it was our 2nd overtime loss in a row. And then we knew when Dave left the game that he was done. And we knew it was at least collegiate career-ending injury. And I remember going in the locker room and I freaking just started bawling, crying. It wasn't about the game. I could give 2 shits about the season. I was just like, I was crying for Dave. Right. And I was just sad that his college career is over. We're not going to be able to play with him again. And it was actually Scott Kavanaugh that came up to me. He's like, knock this shit off. Like you got to get up. We got to keep going. Like you can't stop now. And but we had to learn how to deal with adversity, whether it was individual adversity, with school, with injuries, with losing a teammate, with losing the game. We always had some sort of adversity that we had to get over. Drive, being determined to work hard and achieve goals, success. The thing with success that I like carrying it over into the real world is the sad thing is there's people in the real world that don't know what success feels like. And I feel for them because they haven't had that opportunity, whether it's now maybe half of it, if not more than half, is on them, that because of their lack of work ethic, they haven't found success. But where we're blessed is we saw and felt and have been part of a lot of success. So that allows us to continue that work ethic in the real world because we know what it feels like and we know what we want and we know how we don't want to feel as well. Right. And I'm just going to bring it back to something I said earlier. Just like Jordan said, we hate to lose more than we love to win. Right. And I think that sums it up as a football player. And you take all those goals that we learned in football that made us successful in football, that allowed us to have all the memories we have now, that allowed us to be able to do stuff like this because, like, think about it. I mean, I feel for kids that are in college that are a part of unsuccessful programs. Right. Well, we were a part of a program that had tremendous success and that gives us a platform like this to be able to talk about that. And, like you were the one that had the idea to say, like, and we're doing it, we're in the middle of it right now, is we're not going to just do a show about football. We're not going to just do a show talking about our pastor, just do a show talking about last week's games. We want to incorporate how that has evolved me and you into what we are, our families into what they are, our businesses, our lives, everything. And it's an honor to be able to do that. But I think the people listening have to listen to, and this is where I stress with kids, it's not just the old saying, oh, I'm going to work hard and good things will happen. No, it's all these little details. And that's where we learned, and you brought up a couple times, Any Given Sunday, that football's a game of inches. It's those little details that make the difference. Like, we didn't win a Rose Bowl because we tried hard. Right. We won a Rose Bowl because we ran 22-23 zone 1,500 times during the season. Right. And we knew exactly what was going to happen on every single situation. If the linebacker moved 6 inches over, we knew to expect something different because it was the paying attention to little details. And that's what life's about. Like, you can't just say it's working smarter, not harder. You can't just say I'm going to work hard and a good result's going to happen. You have to have goals. You have to be determined. You have to have that work ethic, and it comes down to little things in life. Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. I got a buddy in Florida that wants Cabin Coffee, wants to give it a try. He hears us talking about it. How's he go about ordering it?
Not hard, Bill. Just have him Google Cabin Coffee Altoona. We have a website. Down below, we have a bean menu. He can go through, see the description of the beans, and then he can just email me at altoona@cabincoffee.net and then send me his order and some contact information. I'll give him a call, and I'll figure out the rest and get it in the mail.
That sounds easy.
Very easy. And I think, too, now that I'm at this stage in life, my idea of success is much different than it was when we were in college.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now I focus on, like I said, I don't think, like, for a lot of it, like, again, I was a cop. I worked nights, weekends, and it affected me in a negative way. Yep. I was an asshole. I've been an asshole for a long time, but I was more of an asshole then. And now more of my success and my goals are my marriage, my kids.
That's right. So my wife, with marriage and kids, I was going to say happiness. Yes. And that's marriage, that's kids, that's family. Right. It's success is happiness, and it's not just being happy. Once again, back to football. It's the little details that we have to do to be able to achieve that happiness.
And I watch in admiration of your son, who's playing at my alma mater, starting as a freshman, which. When I played in the 90s, it was powerhouse football, Everest was, and it was unheard of because I was a sophomore that started on varsity.
And that was
unheard of now. And now I see your son, the same commitment that you had in football. And I mean, I'm not his father, but I get to be a fan of your son from a distance and watch how well he's doing and watching the same mannerisms and obtaining these exact same kind of experiences that you have and that I had. And I tell you, I enjoy watching it, and I get to relive my youth through your son, and it's pretty cool.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And even, just to throw a little credit towards my son, the thing that's even more impressive to me is people all the time think that I'm like cracking a whip and like putting him through drills at home. And I go, like, when you said he works as hard as me, I think he actually works harder than I work at this stage because he's a freshman. When I was a freshman, I wasn't putting in the extra work
Right.
that he put in. Like he wants, during the summer, he wants to go to football fields by himself and do drills. Yeah, there were times, maybe after sophomore year, I was doing drills on my own in the backyard or going to the park and doing stuff. But he was doing this in between 8th and 9th grade. The weight room, like I did the weight room. Now, granted, I could argue I didn't have the organization in the weight room that he has, but yeah, he's definitely putting it in, and I'd even say putting it in more time, effort, consistency, and determination than I did at that time, which is impressive because it's not from me pushing him to do it. It's from him. And once again, back to football, it's from him just listening to me either coach other kids throughout the last 10 years of his life. I think he was 4 years old. That story I was talking about working at your high school with your O-line and D-line, I think Chris was 4 years old and he was our manager. Right. Back then, when we were coaching kids up, Chris was running around at 4 setting up cones and stuff, and he heard us just say the same things over and over. Keep your head low, hands inside, keep your feet moving. And he bought it hook, line, and sinker. He believed in it and said that's what he's going to do. And to both of our points, it makes it fun watching, and, like you talk to coaches and it's what he's doing. I think we know as athletes, not every athlete does that. Right. So it's impressive to see a child that young do such mature things when it comes to sports and school. Right. Like he's 10 times the scholar that I was in high school. And, I was lucky that I was smart. Listen now, I was smart enough in high school where I didn't have to study a ton. And he really, really likes school. He enjoys studying and he gets good grades. Both of the kids do, both my daughter and my son. And, I think a lot of that comes from my ex-wife and I with the parenting we did, the instructions we gave, and the goals that we set. Like they have a nice life and they've gotten the opportunity to do a lot of nice things, but we had a standard that you need to get grades. You're not going to play sports if your grades aren't there, let alone if your grades aren't there. Even if you barely make it where you can play sports, no one's going to look at you because they don't want a kid that doesn't get grades. So any kids out there, you need to take that first and foremost. If your grades are not there, nobody gives a shit what you do on the football field because it does not matter. Because
you're a liability.
Yes.
And no one's going to bring you on their team because of
if you can't,
it shows your character.
If you can't pass and get decent grades in high school where your hand is held, there's no way you're going to make it through.
Especially now when you can redo tests freaking 4 times. Oh, you did bad. Let me just redo it. Or you missed an assignment. You turned in, 3 weeks late and you still get full credit. Or they dock like 10 points off. Like, what is that shit? Like,
so first off, you don't have to yell at me about that. But you got a little out there. But even kids today, they get to do tests at home or like on their computers and stuff. Where with us, it was like if we got to take a scratch piece of paper in with notes, that was a blessing.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just different. But yeah, like just looking at this, like I'm so thrilled. And when people, and here's the other thing that came up a lot with me, at least, was everybody asked me. It was probably 4 years after I was done playing when the concussion lawsuit came out, and everything came out about concussions, which we knew nothing of during our playing time. And they're like, knowing what you know today, the first question was, would you do it over again? The second question was, would you allow your son to do it? And I said, 1,000%. I go, now me, I'd probably do it the same way I did it because it's what I did. It's what worked. And I enjoyed it. Now for my son, and I said to my wife, or ex-wife, wife at the time, whatever it is, and any other adult, I said, I want my son to do it because of everything we just talked about.
Right.
I don't want my son to go through life without understanding all that shit, and football teaches you all that shit. I go, I don't care how good an athlete he is. He is going to learn how to do it the right way. He's not going to do it my way. I'm not going to teach him my way. I'm not going to show him, like, a lot of my stuff, when I say shortcuts, it wasn't me taking the easy way out. It was realizing, here's where I'll admit one time, and we're not going to repeat this, but realizing that I am shorter than the average lineman. My arms are shorter than the average lineman. I think I told the story way back when we had the bowl game episode. It was 97, our first year playing. I went up against Richard Seymour, who was in the NFL Hall of Fame now. He was a DN tackle at Georgia, and there was one play early in the game when he got his hands inside of my hands. And what's our rule? You replace. When I went to replace and I stuck my hands out, my hands were about 4 inches away from his chest. And that was the day I realized, like, I can never let this happen again. And I went back and I started thinking. I was working with some players on, like, just doing slow motion. Like, what if this happens? What could I do? And yeah, there's always the like, knock the hands up, knock the hands down. That doesn't always work. What I learned was if I allow them to come into me, pull them in, headbutt them, lock them back out, I could always get my hands on. Now, granted, broke my nose many times, cracked my helmets many times. I'm sure it led to, slight concussions and head injuries, stuff like that. So I would never push that. But for what football teaches, absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am today without football. And I would hate for anybody's son to not learn these life lessons that we've learned, whether they have success in football, whether they win games, whether they start or they're a backup. They're going to learn these lessons by playing the sport of football. And it's and the other thing with football is it's not like baseball, where baseball, heck, you could still be in high school and be a backup outfielder, and you could still be picking dandelions in the outfield and be on the team. With football, you need to go 100 miles an hour on every play, or you're going to get hurt and not be on the field.
Correct.
So if you're out there and you're surviving, you're going hard. If you're going hard, you're learning these different traits that every single person learns in football. You learn it one way or the other. Either you don't set goals and you don't achieve goals and you realize about goals because you didn't achieve them, or you set them, you achieve them, and you realize how to set goals because they worked. But one way or the other, you're learning these traits, and they're going to benefit you all throughout life, any industry. And like we pointed out, whether you're a lawyer, salesperson, coffee shop owner, police officer, farmer, anything, these traits are going to help bring success. And you and I, yes, both of our parents taught us a ton about life and about hard work and about, sacrificing and everything that our parents could teach us. But the additional traits that we learned from football, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have the families, the kids we have, the life we have today without these traits. So
and
I would never give it up.
I feel that even though my daughter she played sports early on when she was younger, but gave up on sports in 6th grade. And, I'm never one to push my daughter, but she still saw what it took for the coffee shop, and she worked there since she was 13.
Yep.
And she saw that, and I'm going to brag about my daughter now because she got her associate's degree in high school, and she's graduating here in December after a year and a half of college, and she's getting her bachelor's degree, and she's going to get her master's right after that. So again, she's much smarter than me, but I have to think that, and she got the intelligence and the brains from my wife. Believe me, it's not from me. But I like to think that a little bit of my stubbornness, my stick-to-itiveness, the grit, and all the things.
You said, she learned these traits through the coffee shop.
Right.
She's got you as the leader there, and she was in hell at the beginning and had to fight through adversity and all, everything. She had to be determined. She was like you, one of the first ones in, one of the last ones out, and she became a leader, became confident, became like we talk about communication, about resilience, about drive, success. That's who Madison is at the coffee shop. Or whenever she was there is when she comes back from time to time. Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. I got a buddy in Florida that wants Cabin Coffee, wants to give it a try. He hears us talking about it. How's he go about ordering it?
Not hard, Bill. Just have him Google Cabin Coffee Altoona. We have a website. Down below, we have a bean menu. He can go through, see the description of the beans, and then he can just email me at altoona@cabincoffee.net and then send me his order and some contact information. I'll give him a call, and I'll figure out the rest and get it in the mail.
That sounds easy.
Very easy. I tell you, I get asked too, knowing how beat up your body is right now and, all the stuff that you deal with at 47. And would you do it all over again?
So
with the same results?
First off, I'm a young buck, 46.
Yeah.
But absolutely. Like I said before.
And I would
absolutely.
I'd do it yesterday with the same results. It's exactly the same. And I would go at it with the exact same mentality and attitude that I did when I was,
Absolutely. Look, here's another thing that you just brought up too. Like how you said with the same results. And I know, when you're saying that, you're talking about the ending, but you'd still go through it. My dad asked me when I was looking at colleges and looking at that first line that we wrote down, goals, before Wisconsin came in the mix, I was looking at West Point. They showed a little interest in me, but I realized right off the bat I wasn't smart enough for West Point. They had already started talking about me going to a prep school before going, and I was just like, oh shit! What if the prep school doesn't work out? I don't even make it. I didn't know what kind of limbo that'd be. So that got pushed off the table. Then University of Buffalo came in the mix, and they were huge on me. They were 1AA at the time. Their sales pitch was they were going to be Division I by our junior year, and they're selling me on We see you as a starter, as a true freshman, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff that, any young kid wants to hear. And I do think there was a chance, like, if I didn't start right away, I'd be a starter eventually. I knew that for a fact with Buffalo. Then Wisconsin came in the mix late. I took the visit, and my dad had to work, so it was just me and my mom that took the visit. And I remember Coach Huber told me before I went to go meet with Coach Alvarez, like, hey, he goes, I don't know if you're going to get an offer. He's bullshitting.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't know if you're going to get an offer, but if you do, you better have a fucking answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because Coach Alvarez doesn't want to hear, I'll get back to you, I'll let you know next week. He goes, you better know what you're going to do. So I remember that night after dinner, I called my dad, and my dad always wanted the best for me, but he gave me like an ultimatum. He goes, listen, I just want to be very clear with you. He goes, we know for a fact if you go to Buffalo, you're going to start. You're going to play. He goes, you go to Wisconsin, you might ride the bench for 4 years.
All right.
And I remember I thought about it for 30 seconds, and I said to my dad over the phone, I go, I'd rather go to Wisconsin and ride the bench and know I tried at the highest level possible, but I didn't make it, as opposed to go to Buffalo. And I go, what if I become a 4-year starter and a 1-year All-American? I'd always say, what if I went somewhere better? Would I have had all these doubts, all these concerns? And that's the other thing, tying it back to the youth today and the young athletes and young individuals. I always say the one thing that I love about my football career is I don't have regrets. Right. And my dad, that was another thing my dad taught me a lot about. He worked for Ferrario Amusements. They did video games, pool tables, and what we were known for back in the day was poker machines, the illegal business of poker machines. FBI, if you're listening, it was in the past. It's out of what's the timeline thing that they say with
statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations is passed. But my dad, I used to travel with him during the summer from like bar to bar while he was emptying poker machines out. My dad would always like send me up to the bar. He's like, see that guy at the corner? He's like, go ask him what he did after high school. And literally, my dad knew all these guys all around town. And I'd go up to the guy, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, I was a 3-year starter in high school. I got a scholarship to whatever college. He's like, I went for a week, and I got homesick, and I came back. And now the guy's sitting at a bar on a Tuesday afternoon at 11 in the morning. And I just heard all these stories. And I remember when I got done and I started talking to athletes, I go, the thing that I'm blessed about is, whether I didn't have the 10-year career in the NFL, I'm not going to get inducted. Well, you never know, but I probably won't get inducted in the Packer Hall of Fame. But the one thing I do have is I don't have regrets. Probably the one regret I have from football is my ending injury in Carolina. I tore my calf muscle. I should have had surgery as opposed to toughing it out. I toughed it. They got me on the field for one series and cut me the next day. That's the only regret. But other than that, I don't regret saying I wish I watched more film, or I wish I lifted harder, or I wish I, ran my sprints at 100%. Like, there's no regrets about that shit. Where it is common. You look at people out there, like it's easy to be, you hear this all the time. It's easy to be average. It's tough to be excellent. You've got to do the extra work to be excellent. And I look back and I don't have regrets. And just like you, I know you don't either, because we were side by side with half these workouts and these runs and watching film together and all this stuff. So that's a positive. That's a takeaway for me. And that's just something I want any young athlete or young adult to hear and understand, that it doesn't matter that we played football. Like everything we said, we can replace the word football with any other occupation. These traits breed success.
Very much so.
If you do the stuff we talked about, you're going to have success, but you have to do it. And like we stressed before, you have to pay attention to the details.
And you can't half-ass your goals. You can't just say them and write them down.
Yes.
Like, you got to you got to believe it in your being.
Yes.
Because otherwise, just lip service, and you're lying to yourself, and you're lying to everybody else, and you're lying to your teammates and your friends that this is what you're going to do. You have to embrace it to the point where it's an obsession. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. So find your mission, find your purpose, have goals, and actually have realistic goals.
Yes.
Because
you got to have small. You want to have big goals that might not be attainable, but like to your point, you got to have the small goals to be able to get to the big goals.
Right.
It's like people that, what's the saying? I remember I copied it during the virus time. Somebody reached out to me asking about a job, and they were saying they wanted to work at an NFL team. I'm just like, whoa, dude. Like, how about you get the job before the job?
Right.
I always laugh at people like, if somebody's unemployed and they're like, nobody's hired, well, everybody's hiring right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you want the job. Why don't you
Right.
get the job before the job?
Right.
Like, just go get the intermediate one,
Yeah.
just like with goals. Like, you could have the goal, like, if you're a high school athlete, you could have the, I want to be a professional athlete.
Mhm.
But what do you got to do this month?
Right.
You know, like,
This
have you been
week, this hour.
Yeah,
Like,
have you been in a weight room every day
No,
during the
no.
week? Have you been doing your running? Have
No.
you watched film? Like, that's the stuff. Those are the intermediate, the beginning, the attainable goals.
but I was playing Madden. Does that count? With my friends online.
If you're learning the play calls.
Oh, it's crazy. Different world, man. But
It is.
anyway, anything else? I think this is good. Like I said,
I think it's very
it gives a
good.
different perspective because we can sit here and bust each other's balls all day long and talk about football, which I really enjoy. But I think at the end of the day, like this podcast is more than that. It's not just two has-beens and wannabes that are talking about football.
Yeah.
Like everything we've done. All the accomplishments all comes back, and even to this day, like, still comes back to this.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I think I would just say to the audience, like, we enjoy talking this and we enjoy doing the parallels between sports and real life. So if there's something else out there that you think that we haven't touched on, that you are questioning, is that something that we believe in? Throw it out there. Throw it on social media. Throw it in a comment, in a direct message, whatever, and we'll hit on it in future episodes. Otherwise, we are going to try and get a little bit more current with sports, trying to be more on top of it within a couple days of the Badger Packer weekends, but we are going to be dropping podcasts like this from time to time as well, and hope you enjoy both sides of it.
Absolutely.
So other than that, stay tuned for next week's episode, and we will thank our sponsors. We're going to touch base on how you're going to order your Cabin Coffee if you are not in the Altoona area and you want to try some of Cabin Coffee's coffee. So let's start with the sponsors. I'm going to thank Pizza Del Rey, which is located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire, our favorite pizza in the state of Wisconsin.
Absolutely. And, of course, mine and my wife's business, Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. And we're getting more requests for coffee. If you are a coffee connoisseur or you just want to taste what I'm talking about, you can just Google Cabin Coffee Altoona. We have our bean menu on our website. And then at that point in time, if you want to send me an email to altoona@cabincoffee.net, not .com, that was an issue, .net. So again, Altoona, and that's spelled ALTOONA @cabincoffee.net. Send me your order. We have single origin. We have some of our bean blends. We can do various roasts also, light, medium, dark, and very dark. So, and then send me your contact information. I'll reach out to you, get your information, and get it in the mail.
Dark, like under the bed dark? Because that's dark under the bed.
It is, but I just call it, it's either light, medium, dark, or we do very dark.
Do I get to name a coffee sometime?
Maybe.
Okay.
Dago special.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be down with that. A little sweet, a little spice.
Probably. I don't put olive oil in the coffee though, so I don't know how. And I sure as hell don't put spaghetti sauce in there, so I'm not sure what the hell we're gonna do there.
Could be something new.
Something
new.
Put some Italian flavoring in the coffee. Yeah, that'd be great.
A little oregano on top instead of cinnamon. All right, thanks, folks. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.